Although actuators, valves, filters, regulators and lubricators might be considered the most important part of a compressed air system, the tubing and fittings are just as crucial and often forgotten. Tubing gets the air to the right place, and fittings allow the tubing to connect to the ports. In this module, you will learn about the different types of fittings and tubing available from Norgren and understand the advantages and limitations of different designs. It's usually best to start with tubing, as this can dictate what type of fittings are required. Typically, tubing will be specified as either plastic or metal, with a number of factors influencing the choice, including the environment and application. Although it can be a little daunting to begin with, selecting fittings is generally easier than other parts because there are fewer things to contemplate. The port and tube connections, the operating pressure and temperature, the shape required, and whether it is European or American thread are all important considerations. Let's take a closer look at a couple of these examples. The port connection can be parallel or taper thread. A parallel thread seals against an O-ring between the fitting and the face of the component, which is usually machined or spot-faced, providing a smooth, flat surface. Parallel threads can be inserted by hand and cannot damage the mating part. Taper ports tighten directly to the component and rely on a lightly wedged fit. Sealant is often used between the threads of the fitting and the port. Unlike a parallel thread, the surround does not need a machined face and may not be flat. Taper threads have a smaller outside diameter than parallel threads. The shape of the fittings is also important, so you should start by asking your customer if they have a preference. If not, then here are some things to think about. A straight path will allow for higher flows than elbows, but fixed elbows have higher flow than swivel elbows. Elbows do tend to provide neater solutions though, so weigh up the importance of that against flow rates. Although they can be used with plastic tubing, all metal tubing requires the use of compression fittings, strong parts made from brass. Norgren products are known as E-knots fittings. Most of the industry has now moved to push-in fittings, but there is still a requirement for these products in some applications and where metal tubing is used. For example, E-knots fittings can operate at higher pressures and temperatures than push-in fittings and are more suitable when the pipe is moving. A standard compression fitting consists of 3 parts that can be purchased individually or as a set. Push-in fittings are now the most common in the industry thanks to their ease of use and cost saving. They don't require tools to fit and allow the tubing to be reused where necessary. NewFit C is a composite push-in fitting that comes in 50 shapes. It's constructed from PBT and nickel-plated brass and has a maximum operating pressure of 10 bar or 145 psi and temperature of 60 degrees Celsius or 140 degrees Fahrenheit to minus 20 degrees Celsius or minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit. It's suitable for general industrial applications, is lightweight, easy to use, and competitively priced. NewFit M is a miniature version of the C, made with the same materials and with many of the same characteristics. This range comes in 10 different shapes and is perfect when space is limited. NewFit, sometimes called Metal NewFit or NewFit 10 series, is a nickel-plated brass push-in fitting. Its metal construction means it can withstand higher operating pressures and temperatures, making it suitable for more arduous industrial environments. The 10 series is the metric version and 12 series is the imperial version. There are other push-in fittings in the Norgren range, including NewFit D, suitable for food and drink applications. NewFit S, made from stainless steel, making it corrosion-resistant. FleetFit is a push-in connector approved for use on vehicles, including vehicle braking systems. And BSP hose are traditional fittings, including nipple connectors, fir tree connectors, adapters, plugs, etc. With so many possibilities, what is the best way to go about choosing a fitting? A good place to start is to look at what the customer is already using and use the same. It's important to look at the application and supply the appropriate part, but consider the customer's preference too. There are a few important things to remember when specifying tubes and fittings. Firstly, don't mix threads. For example, don't mix an NPT thread with a BSPT thread. The only exception to this is a BSPT into a BSPP. Composite fittings do not accept metal fitting inserts. Only use Fleet Fit on vehicle braking systems. Do not use any other Norgren fitting. Here are some abbreviations that are commonly used. Norgren's fittings are identified in a similar way to other product ranges. The following example applies to a number of ranges. For the older products, you still have the choices, but they are not laid out in exactly the same format. Let's take a typical number. Digit 1 tells us the family, in this case, New Fit C, a composite fitting. Digit 2 tells us the thread family. Here, it's ISO threads. Digit 3 tells us the thread type, in this case, parallel. Digits 4 and 5 tell us the shape. This example is straight. Digits 6 and 7 tell us the first thread fitting size, in this case 4mm PIF. And finally, digits 8 and 9 tell us the second thread fitting size, which is G 1/8 of an inch thread. Swapping between parts is just changing the range at the front. An American example might look like this. That's the end of the module. You should now have a good understanding of the tubing and fittings, the products available, and the situations they are most suited to. There are other related products available from Norgren not covered in this course. Please visit the website to find out more.